What's up, everybody? This is Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, HawgSports.com. Today on the show, we're going to take a closer look at this Arkansas versus Kentucky game, why this is the biggest opportunity for Arkansas to end the streak and finally get a first SEC win, a first SEC road win under Chad Morris. Keith Grayson is going to come and join us and talk about why he feels a little bit differently about it. Also, Pete Roulier, your questions and more, all that on Hog Sports Live. Super intrigued with this matchup, everyone. Super intrigued with it. And there's a lot of reasons why I think that this could be the one for Arkansas, and we'll get into that, of course. But just to go over things, Arkansas at Kentucky, both teams are 2-3. Kentucky's 0-3 in the SEC. Arkansas's 0-2 in the SEC. 6:30 p.m. kickoff on Saturday. SEC Network at Kroger Field, 61,000 capacity. Again, this is the last SEC stadium that I have not been to. I didn't go in 2008. I didn't realize that it was going to take 11 years. So if you're not going to Lexington this weekend and things stay the way they are, you're probably looking at 2030 before you have another chance to go watch Arkansas play a football game in Lexington. So pretty rare opportunity. Going to be nice weather, 57 degrees at kickoff. Supposed to dip down into the 40s a little bit. It could possibly rain. I guess I haven't looked at it a little bit. Betting line is Kentucky favored by -6.5. So that's the outline for the game. You look at how Kentucky played last week. Obviously, Arkansas and Kentucky were both on bye weeks last week, but Kentucky losing to South Carolina 24-7. Had a good opportunity to watch that game since it was a late game. Sawyer Smith went 11 of 32. Now, he came out in the fourth quarter, and they replaced him with Lynn Bowden, who's a wide receiver, punt returner, guy who does a lot of different things for him, really talented athlete who plays their wildcat quarterback role. We don't know what's going on right now with the quarterback situation at Kentucky. We don't know because nobody's saying anything. Mark Stoops isn't saying anything, and we just don't know. But Kentucky has had a lot of injuries. The reason this is a winnable game, I think there's a lot of things you can point to, offensive line versus defensive line, all of that type of stuff. But why this is a winnable game is simply because I think Arkansas's got a better situation at quarterback, and we'll get into breaking that down here in a little bit more. But I think Arkansas is in a better situation when you consider, they lost Terry Wilson early in the season. They lost the guy who would have backed him up, I believe, in fall camp or earlier than that. And then Sawyer Smith's kind of like the third guy. And is he going to be 100% available? We don't know. Are they going to go with Bowden at quarterback? I mean, how good of a passer is he actually? He was a high school quarterback. But is that something that's sustainable for them? Are we going to see a mix of them? A lot of questions right there with the quarterback situation. And for Arkansas, obviously you're preparing for both. I do think it's a bit of a disadvantage, and we'll get to Chad Morris here in a little bit about which team shows up. But first, before we dive into all that, I want to remind everybody, plenty of ways to watch and listen. Obviously, if you're watching on Facebook Live, we always stream the show live on Facebook Live. Also available on YouTube, which is where we'll upload it immediately after. Be sure to like, share, follow, comment. Throw us a thumbs up right now if you haven't done so already. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Hit the notifications bell so you're notified anytime that that we upload a new video. Also available on Apple Podcasts, #1 rated Razorback show on Apple Podcasts. Throw us a 5-star review if you like the content right now on Spotify and Stitcher as well. HawgSports.com, just $1 right now for your first month, or 30% off your first year with a 7-day free trial. It's HawgSports.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. And we may, if Arkansas beats Kentucky, we may come out with a special. We may do something big, like a 50% off an annual subscription, something like that. So stay tuned. We did that when Arkansas broke their 17-game losing streak against LSU, and it was one of our most successful promotions ever. So we might do something like that. All right. Which Arkansas team shows up? Is it going to be the Arkansas team that faced San Jose State, or is it going to be the Arkansas team that faced Texas A&M? If it's the Arkansas team that faced Texas A&M, then Arkansas is going to go down there and win the game. I really believe that. And I'm kind of going against everything that I said I would do, and it's because I picked Arkansas to beat Kentucky in the preseason. This was my first Chad Morris win against a Power 5 team, against an SEC team that I predicted. Actually had them losing to Ole Miss. And the reason I did that is because of the cumulative effects of playing on the road and, just kind of learning some things. I've said over and over again that what's going to determine this game is if Arkansas can take what they've acquired in some of the losses, because you have to learn how to win on the road. And so they've been to Ole Miss. Okay, they lost that game. They found out what happens when you don't show up in the fourth quarter. The neutral site game at Texas A&M, you had an opportunity to win at the end. You didn't finish that final drive, which brings me to another point about will they, have they learned their lessons on the road? Can Arkansas put a game away? That's the thing that they haven't learned. They haven't had to protect a lead. Can they run the ball in the fourth quarter and move the chains and put the game away when they have to? That's a big question because I think Arkansas can score some points. And I've heard a lot of people say it's going to be a low-scoring game, and I think I went 31-24 Arkansas in this one. So relatively low-scoring, I guess, in today's age. But I think Arkansas will be able to score on this defense a little bit. Will we see the best of Nick Starkel finally? I'm firmly in the camp that Nick Starkel gives you the best chance to win. I think he gives you the best chance. I mean, when you look at just his overall ability, and I know he's had some bad games through 5 interceptions. You'd hope that against San Jose State, you'd hope that he learned from that. Ben Hicks showed a lot of guts, I think, in the Texas A&M game, but I still think Nick Starkel gives you the best chance to win with his overall upside, his ceiling. He just throws a nice ball, very accurate. He has had a bad game. Now, will we see that again? He's got to figure out how to overcome when he's not having a very good game. And part of that's also going to be determined on the offensive line. How are things going to go up front with this game? So, all right, I want to go ahead and get to Chad Morris's video. This is about 2.5 minutes or so, just kind of to take a look at what Chad Morris thinks about some of the key things, with maybe not having Colton Jackson, with Kentucky's quarterback situation, those types of things. So let's get to it.
We just had a great week last week, going back to fundamentals. This week has been very, very much like a normal, what you would expect. Guys amped up, ready to go, get back on the field Saturday night. So, a lot of excitement. I anticipate a great day today. The weather's been fantastic. It's going to be a great night for football Saturday night. I mean, you can't ask for much better than this. And, I'm excited to see how our guys are going to respond and play.
Mark Stoops was kind of non-committal on the SEC call day about who's going to start at quarterback. What do you guys anticipate there?
Well, I mean, we're prepared for different scenarios. I mean, with where they've been this year at their quarterback situation, the injuries that they've had, obviously, putting Lynn in there is going to add a whole new dynamic. Obviously, it's going to pull one of their best weapons at wide receiver into a quarterback where he's touching the ball every play. I anticipate him playing some quarterback. How much, I don't know, but and I think Sawyer's going to play as well. I think it'll be just a mix-up. I really do. I think it's whatever. If they get a hot hand, they're probably going to stay with it, and if not, they'll probably go back and forth. But we're prepared. It's about how we play, and that's what I'm focused on more than anything.
Is that a disadvantage, though, having to prepare for 2 quarterbacks instead of spending all your focus on one?
Well, I mean, obviously you got to spend a little bit more prep time with that, with different scenarios, and but that's, you have to do that regardless through the course of the week. But again, we have to put different focuses for different guys that are back there. But at the end of the day, we still got to block, we still got to tackle, we got to run the football, and we got to play at a very high level.
If you have to play Cunningham, how do you feel about him since he didn't play the last game?
Yeah, of course, Myron has gotten game experience this year, so, I expect Myron to step in there at left tackle and be just fine. I don't have a problem with that.
Still expect Colton to practice then today?
I do not believe he's going to be out at practice today. So it'll be, I know we're evaluating right now still, and so we'll see as the week continues to progress, but right now he won't be out today.
If he were to be cleared on Thursday, could he be game ready?
Well, it all depends on where we are, and we feel like he's confident in the plan. We'd like for our guys to go through practice as much as possible if we can and get some type of run through and some type of contact on them. So we're just going to wait and see on that.
What have Lynn's RPOs looked like? Have they been quicker routes? What have they done?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's just electric with the ball in his hand. So, his ability to run the football. As a quarterback in high school, I mean, the guy, you can't go to sleep on his passing game. The ball does get out of his hand. And I know he feels his natural position is a wide receiver, a return specialist. But at the same sense, he's got experience at quarterback, and we're going to have to be prepared for when he gets in there that it's not just an automatic run.
All right, that's head coach Chad Morris, his take on the quarterback situation, Colton Jackson, a few other things. I'm in the camp that the deal with Colton, if he's not available, I felt like they really, really missed him against San Jose State. And I know that Colton catches a lot of flack, but They missed him. So that's something to watch in this game. There's no question that's something to watch, especially when we talk so much about the Kentucky defense. How big they are up front. And I wonder about that too. Ty Clary's been limited a little bit. He's been in a green jersey most of the time. But I thought he struggled against San Jose State with their 3-4 defense, having a guy zero tech right over him. Just looking at this Kentucky offense real quick. So they are, let's see, scoring offense. Kentucky is 13th in the SEC, 23.4 points per game. Total offense, 12th in the SEC, 377 yards per game. Third down conversions, 12th at 34.33. That's not very good. Passing offense, they're last in pass efficiency rating, 109.34 and 212 yards per game. And rushing offense, they're in the middle of the pack, 164 yards per game in rushing offense. Although last time out, they didn't do significantly well. They had 28 carries for 115 yards. So that's Kentucky's offense. Defensively, obviously, they've got Quentin Bohanna, Marquand McCall, who go about 50-50 rotation up front at nose guard. 6'3", 271 for McCall, 6'4", 261 for Bohanna. And then Cash Daniel. So that makes you think, when I think about defense, I think about, you want to be strong right up the middle, free safety, middle linebacker, defensive tackles, and they are pretty strong. I mean, Cash Daniel's pretty solid linebacker. You look at overall Kentucky defense, scoring defense, they're 8th in the SEC, 24.4 per game. Total defense, 11th, giving up, 395 yards per game. Opponent third down conversion, they're last in the SEC at stopping opponents from converting third downs. Arkansas hasn't been exceptional in that area either. Arkansas is 12th in the SEC. Rushing defense, Kentucky is 13th, giving up 171 yards per game. That's good for Arkansas because I do think that Arkansas can jump out on these guys. I think it's very possible that they can do that, get ahead of these guys, and then have to worry about protecting a lead. And that should be a little scary to Razorback fans because they haven't had to do that yet. They haven't been put in that situation. So how does that work out? Passing defense, middle of the pack, 8th in the SEC with a 122 efficiency rating. So that's a little breakdown of Kentucky, what they have. I want to go to Keith Grayson now for the fan perspective. Keith always brings an interesting comedic opinion. For those who aren't familiar with Keith, Keith is a high school football coach. He's also in real estate, and he is the former president and founder of the Arizona Razorback Club before he was dismissed from that position. So we'll get to Keith here.
I'm here.
Keith, we got
Reluctantly here.
Reluctantly here. So let's just let's get to the elephant in the room here.
Let's clear up the firing. What happened?
Yeah. Why you been acting so messed up towards me?
I don't like censorship. I'm an anarchist.
Yeah.
And I don't like being. I'm very type A.
Yeah.
I don't like being told what to say and what not to say.
Yeah. Well, you were never really told what to say or not to say. I was just bringing up a topic of conversation, and you took it like you always do.
There are people that that I don't like in the sports media world, to cover Arkansas, that sit there and they rant and rave like, why didn't we get Trey Knox in the red zone against Texas A&M? Mm-hmm. I don't know. He didn't play. For starters, he wasn't in the game, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's people that have a voice in Arkansas, and the fans, it filters down to the fans, and there's a reason why the Arkansas fan base as football fans are uneducated. And it comes a lot from some of the people that cover the sport because they're getting misinformation.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so
that's why we have you on, Keith, to help clear the air, bring the fan perspective, tell us what the pulse of Razorback athletics is. And I enjoy having you on, and I certainly don't want to censure you, Keith, because that's what makes you entertaining and unique. So appreciate you coming on.
I'm a little bipolar, and it's mainly because my mood shifts with the success or the lack thereof of the Arkansas athletic program. So if we lose on Saturday, my week's going to suck. Today, I have the second highest closing of my career, and I can't even enjoy it because we're 7-point dogs to someone that's playing their third string quarterback, which so happens to be a wide receiver.
Yeah. Have we talked, Keith, since on air since the San Jose State game? I'm gonna put some Razorback footage up here real quick for people to enjoy while we're talking. So we haven't talked since that game. So what was your reaction after that one? Obviously, we thought that would be a cakewalk, which we should never expect anything like that.
No, if you go back and listen to the podcast that I was on, I said we're 28-point favorites. We're going to win by 3. And we almost did. We almost just won by 3 on that comeback, which was, it's just insane. I didn't even go. I had a weird feeling about that. I host these watch party things. I just try to get out of them because I don't want to break a TV in public. But I just didn't show up to that one. I set it in the calendar. I didn't go. But it's just what to expect. It's like, I don't know if they're looking past to Texas A&M, but we can't. How can you overlook anybody?
You can if you're this team. And there's no question, Keith, that they did. And to me, there's a couple of black eyes on Morris's resume, things that people will never forgive him for. The way that they finished last season, I think most people are understanding that it was most rational people understanding it was a dramatic change last year with offense and bringing new players in, not everybody buying in. But the way that they finished last season with getting blown out against Mississippi State and Missouri, just totally letting go of the rope, that left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouth, I think. And then, of course, you're never going to wash off this San Jose State loss. And the thing that stinks about Chad, no matter what he does in terms of turning it around, people are always going to point to the San Jose State game every single time they lose. Every single time they lose, they're going to bring that game up, just like they bring up the fact that he's never won against a Power 5 opponent, right? Also. So they didn't do themselves any favors. And then, you fast forward to this Auburn game, which has been picked up for an 11 a.m. kickoff, which sucks. I mean, that sucks because you play those 2 away games that are home games in, Missouri and Little Rock and Texas A&M and Arlington. So you only get 2 SEC home games in Fayetteville, which is bad for recruiting. And then your first one is October 19th. It's not even early. It's way off in October 19th. And you have to, as Arkansas, you have to draw talent from farther away, from Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma. So these kids have to drive farther. And now they're going to get up. You're going to tell me a kid's going to get up at the ass crack of dawn and make it to Fayetteville for an 11 a.m. game? But you made your bed. You don't lose to San Jose State, and you're probably not playing at 11 a.m. So when you suck, things just start sucking more. You get put in worse situations over and over and over again. So
no, it's a cycle of suck for sure. And that's the thing is, when I started reading those injury reports or the practice reports coming into that San Jose State game, they're holding out half the damn team. And I was like, this is not this. They got to practice. They can't. I know they're trying to get right, but then they held them out for the game. Burks didn't play, and as you mentioned, Colton Jackson. That offensive line, as crazy as, and again, Arkansas fans hate Colton Jackson because he can't get up a stance on the snap. But when they've had that GIF a couple times, too many times on Twitter, but
probably not entirely his fault, by the way.
Yeah, that offensive line, whether you like it or not, lives and dies with that number. What is 7-4? I mean, that's who it goes through. There's
no question that they missed him against San Jose State, and that's what should be concerning with this game. Keith, I want you to take off your Razorback fan hat, which also constantly whispers in your ear, here we go again. Looking at this game, what you know about each team, aside from the here we go again mentality, should Arkansas not beat Kentucky? Do they not have the better team?
I think they do, but schematically or whatever, however you want to put it, on this, there's a lot on this defense. If you just said they averaged 23.5 a game on offense, if they score over 30 points, somebody needs to get fired.
Yeah.
And I'm not that guy. I'm not that dude that calls for the head coach constantly, because I know, like you said, in the cycle of suck, when you fire the head coach after 2 years, you start this show all over again. You just press reset. This is not. It starts over all over again. So, but with coordinators and the secondary coach or whoever it is, because Chavis has linebackers, somebody's getting paid too damn much. If you want to break it down on a per win basis on what these dudes are making, somebody needs to have their feet held to the fire a little bit. And I I don't think Chad's going to do that. I don't think Coach Morris will do that in mid-season, but I would expect some changes after the season because we are giving up way too many points to Sister of the Poor, and it's just and again, I like John Chavis, and I like the fact that you could see the blueprint of what Morris was going for. He didn't have experience in the SEC, so who do you go out and hire? The person with the most experience of any coach that is living in the SEC, and that's John Chavis. He's been there for 28 years or whatever. So I understand the plan, but the plan really ain't looking that good at this point. And then, how do you feel about the offensive play calling? Has that changed in the season, or were they holding back in the early part of the season, or do you think it's Morris calling the plays, or giving him the Houston nut run pass call or whatever?
I think that Morris definitely has an impact on play calling. Now, how much, I just don't know. And Morris has a way of answering the question that he wants to answer no matter how it's asked, so you can't really get anything out of him. And if you watch yesterday's press conference, he did a masterful job of not answering anything. And so did Mark Stoops, by the way, on the teleconference. But I don't know. I think that the play calling has been fine overall, except for a few things that definitely stick out. I didn't like the Wildcat stuff they did in Oxford. I have not been pleased with what they've called at the goal line. I mean, even that play where Starkle threw that interception on what was supposed to be a shovel pass, I mean, they're clogging the middle and coming at you, and the play call is a shovel pass up the middle behind the line of scrimmage. I mean, I just don't get that. And too many times, how many times have we seen them down at the goal line, and it's Rakeem Boyd's out and C.J. O'Grady's out? I mean, how often have we seen that? I mean, get your best players in there when you're at the goal line. That's a critical area. So there have been some things here and there that I've been, that I've questioned. But overall, I don't know that it's been that bad. I mean, sometimes I think it comes down to execution.
And I do think some of that can be a little overblown on who has the sheet, who's making the call at the end. Because I guarantee you one thing, Morris, Lunny, Craddock, they're all sitting in the same room in trailer, and they're in step, and they're saying, all right, here's the game plan this week, and let's get some plays that we can do on, and it's a down and distance thing once you get to a certain level of football. So there is a system in place where they look down, they got 3 run options, 3 pass options on 1st and 10, and then you go 1st and 5, or you have different down and distances that you can go on. It's usually, low, medium, high, and then where you're out on the field, all of that stuff, it takes into account on the play calling. So it's not like, hey, we're just throwing this in the dirt.
Did you like the play? Did you like the play calling and the performance overall against Texas A&M, even though they didn't finish the game? I mean, that's a step forward, isn't it? I mean, they held them to 340 yards and were pretty productive on offense. They just didn't get it done on the final drive against what's probably a better overall roster on the other side.
Yeah, who knew that Ben Hicks was going to come out and do that, right?
Yeah, he showed some guts.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what I like. I'll tell you what I like though, Keith, more than anything, is that they recognized we got to get the ball to Traylon Burks. We got to get it to CJ. I would have probably liked to have seen more carries for Rakeem Boyd, but everybody's kind of been complaining that Boyd didn't see enough touches, but he's like second in the SEC in rushing attempts per game right now. So I guess that's just kind of the way things are going. But it'd be nice if Arkansas could get a little bit more production from Devois, and who's been good in the passing game, but hasn't been as good as we have seen him at times in the running game. And then you get Chase Hayden back, who hasn't done a whole lot this season either. So you'd like to see maybe a little bit more production from those guys. But overall, I thought that, the goal's got to be get it to the playmakers, and this is the first game in a long time that they've had everybody, and really they've only had all their starting skill guys, with O'Grady and the 3 starting wide receivers and Boyd, one game that Starkle has started so far, and they'll have them all finally for this one. So I'm anxious to see what the whole real starting offense looks like if they get Colton Jackson back also. I think that'll be a benefit too. So, but the main point of it is get the ball to your playmakers. When you're down at the goal line, it should be getting thrown to Trey Knox, Traylon Burks, C.J. O'Grady, Rakeem Boyd. Those should be the guys touching the ball in the red zone, and that's probably it. And Mike Woods too.
And is that too much to ask to know who your playmakers are in year 2, halfway through this damn thing? And that's when Chase Harrell got 4 targets in the first game or whatever it was. I mean, the kid can't catch the ball, and the only time he can catch it is his offhand falling out of bounds. I mean, he makes some miraculous catch. he's the weirdest. He'll do some OBJ catch falling backwards, but then he can't catch one that's right in his breadbasket in the numbers. That type of stuff just drives me crazy because, again, it goes back to the point. If you're making that much money, there is an expectation.
Yeah.
There is an expectation for I don't care where it ranks in the SEC. $3.5 million is $3.5 million, and all the coordinators and position coaches are getting paid too. So, and in Fayetteville, Arkansas, that buys quite a bit. So, anyway, and again, when we do our little pre-production phone call before we get on this, I always today I said it.
That's just a phone call to make sure that you're sober, Keith, before I have you on the air.
which by the way, my dad has the same name as Keith. Is also Keith Grayson. So somebody goes to buy his a plane a while back and comes up from Pine Bluff, and they say, "Man, I thought you were going to be a lot different in person." He's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Aren't you whiskey drunk?" So the other Keith Grayson is actually an attorney. He's not. He's a well-mannered man. He's not a maniac out on the West Coast raising hell with Anyway, so I probably should have got that out a little early. So
clear his name.
No, but I mean, clear the family name. So my thing is, though, I'm not a negative guy. I'm more on the side of, hey, let's give this thing some time. Let's do this. But at the same time, back in the day when Katrina got rolling, I was showing out. I was a Broyles Platinum member all the way, and had the Frank jacket and all that stuff. And
you were at your peak then.
John L. hit, and I took that 5-figure donation back as fast as I could give it. And my thing is, how does it feel as a member of the media to cover this team? You've aged pretty well. I know it's because you're a Georgia fan and you're not really that dedicated to Arkansas, but
just to clear the air, I'm not a Georgia fan. My dad did play at Georgia in the late '60s. He was a running back, linebacker. I guess they went 2 platoon at first, but eventually a linebacker. But no, that doesn't make me a Georgia fan.
Sure, Dad played on the team. You're not going to follow him at all. So, but I will say that
happens. That happens. I didn't grow up in Georgia. I grew up in Arkansas, and when Darrell Walker's son is a good example. He didn't just he wasn't dying to go to Arkansas, even though his dad's a big Arkansas fan. It's not. How does it
impact you? Back to my original question. How does it impact you to cover a team that sucks?
It impacts. My wife pulls for Arkansas. She went to the University of Arkansas too, but and also went to the University of Arkansas. You forgot that. She would and all her friends, they're at the game watching it, and they're hoping Arkansas wins for me more than anything because they know that I'm out in front talking to people about it, and just kind of, I don't like negativity, but you just kind of have to, it is what it is. It's a cycle of suck, and man, I ought to coin that one. I might need to rename this podcast the cycle of suck. It does impact me. I don't like dwelling in negativity or I want to cover a winning team. I don't want to go to or miss bowl games. I want to go to a big bowl game, things like that. I want to cover players that are happy and enjoy winning, but this is the situation that they're in. I can't have any involvement in changing that. Just we talk about it, and obviously, I don't like dwelling in negativity, but that's what it's been for the last 7.5 years. And you're right, I have aged well. I appreciate that.
You have aged well. I think it's your vegan consumption, your your plant-based diet, or whatever you're doing, avocado mud mask at night.
Avocado mud mask.
but Danny's not taking it so well. If he doesn't watch out, he's going to look like Dade Allen here in
Danny looks
years.
Like hell, man. Yeah, he's looking rough.
He is not. He just looks like taking brown party liquor to the face after every L. Ugh, man. Hope it gets better.
Yeah,
How's Pete doing?
Have you seen? I was about to say, have you seen Pete? Poor guy's 23 years old and looks 43. Looks older than I do.
Dear God. Well, that's because I don't know what HawgSports interns make, but it probably can't have that high quality of lifestyle living.
Well, Pete's not an intern. Pete's full time with us. He's fresh out of college. Yeah,
same thing.
He's being groomed to become a special rider. But Pete's got a lot of ability, a lot of potential. Funny guy. But Alec Harrison is our intern who By the way, thoughts and prayers with Alec. Lost his grandmother. But Alec is always going to be positive. He is always a happy guy. We got a good team over at HawgSports. For anybody, again, that hasn't signed up, $1 right now for your first month. All right, Keith.
All right, well, I'll let you get
else?
over to Pete. Yeah,
right,
let's ruin Jaron Lorenzen Day. Let's ruin that day.
Yeah.
That's what I want. It's not too soon to give them an L in Lexington. I actually wanted to go to that game, but
well, you have an
scheduling does not
opportunity in
permit.
2030, Keith.
Perfect. I'm not going to be around then.
Well,
At this rate
hope that's not
of
true.
hog football, there's no damn way. So,
All right, Keith. Appreciate you, man.
later, player.
All right. That's Keith Grayson. Keith obviously has been with us a long time at HawgSports.com, longtime Razorback fan. Lives out in Phoenix, Arizona, and also coaches high school football. I believe he's a linebackers coach, secondary, something like that. Does that on, I believe, a volunteer, maybe just kind of a side job type of deal. Also in real estate, disgraced former president and founder of the Arizona Razorback Club also. All right, let's get to Pete Roulier now. Pete is, as we mentioned a minute ago, has been with us for a little while now, does a great job. Also former University of Arkansas student.
You guys just had to throw in that last little bit there, didn't you?
You know that Keith is going to give you a little bit of hell. I mean, it's kind of a hazing situation, I guess.
What kind of right does he have to haze me? What's he do all day?
I think he just assumes the right. I think he just assumes it.
You weren't much better either. He's 23 but looks about 43. You should see Pete. I mean, that was just brutal.
I knew that you were listening. You don't look 43. I was just trying to give you a little hell and get you fired up before we had you on.
You know what Keith looks like, right?
Keith looks like Danny McBride's more handsome younger brother.
I was going to say he kind of looks like a valet that would just take your car for a joyride. It's one of those kind of slimy people. He's not going to take all your money, but he's going to do something to you.
He's got the look. He's got a little bit of a crazy eye look. You can kind of see it coming. But I like my Danny McBride comparison.
That's not bad, but I just want you to know I'm doing all right, okay?
All right. I'm glad you're doing okay. So Pete Roulier has been with us, like I said, for almost a year, the better part of a year anyway, and does a great job. Does most of the traveling, but I'm traveling for this week because I haven't been to Lexington yet. So, Pete, you've done a little dive into Kentucky's offense and defense. I want to start with Kentucky's offense. What have you seen just based on your research out of those guys? What can we expect on Saturday?
Well, I guess the big story this week has been the story about the quarterback, and they lost their starter, who was really what made their offense go this season. Last season it was Benny Snell, but Terry Wilson was going to be the thing that drove them over the top, and he's out in week 3, so they got a different quarterback situation. They've been going with Sawyer Smith, and he has not really excelled. Mm-hmm. But so what
happened reminds me of it. Do you remember A.J. Derby, Pete?
Yeah.
You remember him playing quarterback? So he reminds me a lot of A.J. Derby, and probably not as mobile as A.J. was, but as a passer, he reminds me a lot of what A.J. was, just not real accurate, probably under a 50% type of passer, a decent arm, but just not a great quarterback. But unfortunately for Kentucky, that's where they are right now.
No, that's the honest to God truth. He just doesn't look like a great quarterback. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if you're talking about Arkansas, you definitely got that battle won right there. So what happened was he went down in the fourth quarter against Carolina, which was obviously last week. They had the bye week, so that's been 2 weeks since then.
He had a couple of things bothering him, didn't he? Do we know what all was like?
It was like his shoulder.
Yeah.
It was kind of the same thing that happened to Starkle, but it was on his throwing arm, I believe. Mm-hmm. He actually made a tackle, like a touchdown-saving tackle against Florida, so pretty much exact same situation. Mm-hmm. So that was a couple weeks ago. Lynn Bowden comes in, who's the receiver, dynamic player, electric player, played quarterback in high school, runs the Wildcat, and they go on to score their first touchdown of the game in the fourth quarter. So that's kind of the controversy. Bowden played quarterback all last week. I'm sorry, it's Bowden. It's not Bowden. It's really hard not to say Bowden.
I know. It looks like Bowden.
It's a football name. But anyway, Bowden gets in there. He's been running first team all week last week. So there's this big quarterback controversy, but I think it's kind of been shut down now, even though Stoops was kind of smoke and mirrors. Mm-hmm. Sawyer Smith went out yesterday and told the media, he's like, I feel fine. Mm-hmm. I think I'm pretty much good to go on Saturday. So it's probably going to be Sawyer Smith, but they're going to still be using Bowden a lot. In the running game, there's no Benny Snell this year. They got two guys, Rose and Smoke, which is a pretty dynamic name for a backfield. They kind of use those guys evenly.
Mm-hmm.
And then in terms of wide receiver, we already mentioned Bowden. And then there's this guy that's 6'5". I'm forgetting his name now.
Yeah, I think maybe starts with a W or something.
That's not me, but
Peter,
then their offensive line all over 300 pounds, just a normal SEC line.
So you say Sawyer. Are you one of those guys that say Warsh also? Like go wash your car? Cedric Warsh?
Okay, yeah. Oh, no, is it Sawyer?
Sawyer.
Yeah.
Smith. I think Jordan Rogers was doing that on the telecast last week.
Can I just go with Saw?
You can go with Saw, I'm sure. You can call him whatever you want, I guess.
Saw Smith.
Yeah, Saw Smith. Sawyer, Warsh. All right.
My bad, man. This is not a good day for me. You're burying me.
I'm just having fun. We're having a little
I
fun.
know. Oh, yeah, we're having so much fun. You want to talk about their defense a little bit?
Yeah, let's jump into their defense. What are you seeing out of the defense?
So I think their best player on the defensive side of the ball is Cash Daniel, who is also, if you didn't know, is kind of like a social media sensation. Just he's got that mustache, kind of like a Gardner Minshew type look on defense. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But he's a really good player. He's got 17 tackles this season. He can do pretty much anything. He's picked off a ball. He can sack the quarterback. And he's just all over the field, as Morris mentioned this week. And then up front, I think is probably their strength. Even though they did lose Josh Allen to the NFL draft, who was by far their best player a season ago. Mm-hmm. Really their strength, instead of on the edge like it was last year, is up the middle with two nose guards that are 361 and 371. That's Bohanna and McCall. Mm-hmm. So watch out for those guys. That's going to be pretty tough. And then the defensive backs, there's not much there. Compared to last season, they're not as strong in the secondary. And Arkansas's receivers probably have the advantage in that one. So defensively, I think they're a lot better than they are offensively. But if Arkansas can do what they did against Texas A&M last week, 2 weeks ago, then they shouldn't have much of a problem with Kentucky defense, in my opinion.
I think everything points to Arkansas except for some of the intangibles. With this one, it's a night game on the road, SEC. I don't care if it's Kentucky or who it is. It's still a road game in the SEC, and that points to Kentucky. There's a little bit of an unknown with what they might do, how much Wildcat they might do, some of those types of things at quarterback, and the aspect of can Arkansas finish a game. They've had plenty of opportunities. I don't want to repeat myself too much, but they've had opportunities to learn away from home, learn how, and that's what a young team has to go through. You'd rather be on the winning side of it, but sometimes losing it maybe helps you a little bit more in terms of remembering it. But they haven't had to protect a lead yet. I mean, they did, I guess, a little bit against Texas A&M. They had a lead for a while, but like fourth quarter, you need to put the ball away on the game away on the ground. They haven't really had that opportunity. So those are kind of some of the things that would scare me if I'm Arkansas. All right, Pete. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, they need to learn to win. That's kind of been the problem.
Winning is learned.
Last season and this season, yeah.
Yeah, especially on the road. So, Pete, you got a score prediction before we let you go?
Yeah, I went with 31-27, which was the same score as the A&M game. I just flipped it, though. I got Arkansas winning.
Yeah, I got Arkansas 31-24, I believe. So, yeah, I said I wasn't going to predict an Arkansas win until I saw them do it, but I'm going against everything I believe here. So, all right, Pete, anything else before we let you go?
No, man. I appreciate it. I'm not gonna bury anybody. I'm actually an upstanding person.
Yeah, well,
I'm not gonna drop a grenade and just leave.
We did give Keith a little bit of hell, though, at least.
Right. All right, man.
All right,
y'all
man.
take it easy.
Appreciate you.
Bye.
All right, that's Pete Roulier. Pete Roulier does a great job, cranks out a ton of content on HawgSports.com. Again, HawgSports.com. We're going to get to your questions next. One more time, though, I'm going to remind you, plenty of ways to watch and listen. Facebook Live, YouTube. Be sure to throw us a thumbs up, like, share, follow, comment. If you haven't shared the video with anybody before that you think somebody might like it, go ahead and throw a share. Throw a share to somebody. Let them check it out for themselves. Also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. Throw us a 5-star review right now if you haven't done so. Say something nice about it. If you like the content, if you don't, then don't bother. We don't want you to do anything you don't want to do. All right, on to your questions. Get them in right now if you haven't done so already. We'll probably go a little bit long here. We're at about 40 minutes now, so we're gonna dive in right now. Dusty Hunt says 17-27 in favor of Kentucky. They see that we have the worst secondary in college football and throw all over us. I don't know that Arkansas has the worst secondary in college football. I actually think the secondary has played pretty well overall. I mean, I know that goes against what most people think because we expect, every time some team scores a touchdown or hits a big play, we're like, that's terrible. But every rule has been geared towards offense. Even injury, player safety stuff has been geared towards offense. So the way the game is designed, you're just going to give up yardage. But I don't think Arkansas' secondary has been that bad this year. I really don't. Tyler Holmes says, which do you think is more likely, if not close, big UK win or Arkansas win? Well, I mean, I'd have to say big Kentucky win just because they're the home team, and we've seen Arkansas come not ready to play. Make no mistake, I'm saying I think Arkansas is going to win, but we've seen there's so much unknown. I mean, if the San Jose – they also should have blown out San Jose State. I mean, they also should have blown them out, and they overlooked them. I don't think that Arkansas is going to overlook this game, but – I don't know. I just look at everything they've got coming back, but there's definitely the possibility they come out with a totally wrong mindset, and they get behind, and there's a situation because we've seen it before. They go into halftime and like, man, if we don't start getting after it, we might lose this game. That's kind of what we saw against San Jose State. Defense came out in the second half and played very well until the last drive. So yeah, I would say Kentucky has the odds of winning big. Got a lot of score predictions. Mario Alvarez says 24-6 Kentucky. Norman Hunt says Arkansas 24-21. James Mitchell Kincaid says 17-7 Hogs. Norman Hunt says last-minute field goal wins it for Arkansas. I assume you mean Arkansas. Oh, yeah, you said 24-21 Arkansas. Mario Alvarez says we're prepared. Morris has said this every pregame. He's 18-35 as a head coach. Yikes, how does he define prepared? Yeah, that's like Princess Bride. Why do you keep using that word? I do not think it means what you think it means. Mike Green says 31-6. I guess you mean Arkansas. Bad day for us. It's Jared Lorenzen tribute day. For one reason, Kentucky has to play lights out. Jared Lorenzen is who I think about when I think about Kentucky football. I don't think Benny Snell so much, although I do a little bit. I don't think Josh Allen. I think Jared Lorenzen, the hefty lefty, J-Lo. I mean, he's the guy. Just a unique – when I think about college football, just unique players, when I think about like guys like Matt Jones, or Tim Tebow, I think about Jared Lorenzen in that conversation. I really do. Definitely tragic that he's passed away at such a young age, but fantastic college football player. Blake Manis says – and just because it's Jared Lorenzen Day, I don't think that means that that's going to give them a huge edge in this game. I mean, it still comes down to the players on the field. Blake Manis says, with the beef Kentucky has inside – do you expect to see T.J. Hammonds and Devion Warren a more reverse sweep to get the big boys moving side to side? I think absolutely if you feel like you have an advantage in speed, get them outside. They are big up the middle. I said before, I worry about Ty Clary, how he played with a zero tech on him last. You guys remember the guy with the long hair for San Jose State. But, yeah, I say get him outside, but you still got to do what you do. Rakeem Boyd has the chops to be able to run inside even against a stout defensive front. He can pick up extra yards after contact. Brian Withers says everybody loves to drag Chad Morris and bring his record up. Question, how well would you have done with the terrible teams that he's had the last few years? I mean, he had a lot of rework at SMU, obviously, and SMU's doing pretty well last year, and there's a mix. There's some transfers that have come in, but the core of that team is his players that he brought in there, and they're undefeated right now. Had a huge 30-9 comeback last week. But I agree with you, Brian. I mean, you got to give the guy a chance. I mean, obviously, we're all disappointed with how things have gone this season, particularly the San Jose State game. And even everything else, taking everything else in, all they really needed to do was take care of business at San Jose State game, and people probably would have been fine. I mean, they wouldn't have been like jumping up and down, but they would have been fine with the way things are. And so losing that game definitely has put a super sour taste in everybody's mouth. No question about it. And more so than it would have been. But at the same time, you have to give him – you've made your bet here, right? This is the guy that you've invested in. You've said, okay, this is the hire we've got to bring in. He's made huge roster changes, brought in. I mean, and really, as I said before, everything they seem to do off the field in terms of bringing players in, bringing Nick Starkel in, bringing Ben Hicks in, some of the other transfers in that they brought, bringing the junior college offensive lineman, getting the offensive line situation in order with the numbers much better than they have been. They've always struggled there. The recruiting class that they just brought in, all of those things, and not just the class they brought in, but the marketing, the activity, all of those things off the field have been what you would want. There has not been one thing that I can say, man, that's terrible. I'm not a big fan of like the club dub stuff, but I'll give them that. I'll sacrifice that, whatever. Everything else has been what you would expect. They just have got to get it together on the field, and people don't want to hear that it's a young team, but it is. Doesn't excuse losing to San Jose State, but it's still a young team. Brandon Knox says this one we could get, and we need it. Woo Pig Suey. Rob Casey says, I'll be there. First real football weather we'll have this year. Bring the heavy red jackets. It's going to be cold. Not cold, it's going to be cool. Graham Cox says, Trey, Kentucky will have to rely on their D to keep them in this. The real question is, can we take their front out of it? I think Arkansas can score some points on them. I mean, if we see the right Nick Starkel, then Arkansas can score some points. They've got plenty of weapons. Todd Willis says, call me crazy, but I think the Hogs win by 2 digits. What say you, Trey? I mean, I don't know about 2 digits or whatever, but I could see them trying to protect a lead at the end, and the question would be whether or not they can. Terry Roy says, ask Keith, where's the prime real estate in Fayetteville? I might need to buy some property out there. Well, Keith, he might know, but, you could probably hit him up at Twitter. He's at Keith Grayson _ is his Twitter handle, Terry. But he works out in Phoenix, but he might know. I don't know. He might do some business in Arkansas. Mario Alvarez says there's not any at all the prime. Yeah, Fayetteville is dead. There's not any prime real estate. You got to move out east in Fayetteville. Tracy McKnight says, hoping for a win this Saturday. It would be nice to get Morris's first SEC win. Absolutely. Mario Alvarez says 18-35. He's had one season with over 6 wins as a head coach, and every team improves after he leaves. I mean, I guess you could say Clemson did. They also improved a lot when he got there. You could say SMU has improved since he's left, but they also improved after he got there. Arkansas, it's not like Arkansas. Here's the deal. If he'd come in and win as bad as they did last year and then started this season the way he did this year, and he was taking over for a coach that left for another situation, maybe went to the end, say theoretically Brett Bielema, had Arkansas as a 9-10 win program or something and left and took another job. And then Morris comes in and they go 2-10 last year and then they lose to San Jose State. Then he should have been fired after the San Jose State game. But that's not what happened. He took over a program that was in a steady decline under Brett Bielema, and totally revamped the offense, he's revamping the type of players that they're bringing in. So that's not the situation, really. It's not the situation of taking over a winning program. Now, he should have never lost to San Jose State, granted, but the situation is not Arkansas. And so say you fire Morris after this season, then where are you? This recruiting class falls apart completely. And, next year is going to suck. You're going to get sold on a 5-year plan by the next coach because the situation has been so bad. So they're going to get all this time to rebuild the program. It's not his fault. It's the previous coach's fault, and it's going to carry out forever. And 2 years from now, you're going to be in the same situation you're in right now, if that. That's the situation. So you've made the bed. You kind of have to lay in it and give the guy an opportunity. Mario says, how much time does this snake oil salesman need? Mark O'Banion says, I think if they can win this game, then Chad Morris' experiment can be labeled. If they can't win this game, it can be labeled a failure. Possibly. I still say, the San Jose State game will always be in the back of everybody's mind. And every time I say something like give them time, I'm like, it just like hits me in the head. Like San Jose State. Don't forget about that. Let's see if we got anything different. This is a must-win, Trey. So true. Talks about. So is it true about French thinking about decommitting? Well, they all want to play together with Tamari and McDonald, which Arkansas offered the 3 Whitehaven linebackers. So they all have an opportunity to play at Arkansas. They're all coming on an official visit for the Auburn game. So, but yeah, you say this is a must-win game, Matthew, and it is in a lot of sense. Like whatever crack there is right now for Arkansas to get to a bowl game, let's say it's just just a few inches, just barely light coming through the door. Whatever crack there is right now for Arkansas to get to a bowl game, it hinges on this game. It will close all the way if they lose this game. It will close because then you start talking about. Maybe you start having some division. It's going to be hard for them to get to a bowl game. As it is right now, if you think about games that are, you might say are winnable, Missouri, last game of the year at home in Little Rock, Mississippi State in Little Rock, last SEC game at home for Arkansas, and this Kentucky game. And they have to win all 3 of those along with Western Kentucky, which isn't a guarantee based on how they played against San Jose State. So those are the games they got to take. Auburn, Alabama, LSU, those types of games are going to be would be dramatic upsets. That would be like, San Jose State beating Arkansas. Let's see. Adam Green says Hogs win big in Kentucky this week. Tyler Holmes says, I hope KJ package with RPO. KJ is traveling. Now, it's always a good idea to bring your young quarterbacks on road trips. So if you ever do go with them in the future, then it's not their first experience on the road. They've traveled, they've seen the environment. They did the same thing with Austin Allen, with Brandon Allen. Did the same types of things with those guys. Ty Story probably too. Norman Hunt says, do we all want to at least? I can't read that. Adam Green says, I love how Arkansas has 2,873 coaches who know nothing about what they're talking about. Oh. Jonathan Parker says, I just look, he still is committed. I guess you're talking about French. Yeah, he still lists his commitment. Now, I think he took some Arkansas stuff down from his Twitter profile, but Arkansas needs to oversign linebacker. For once, they have to. It's been, kind of a cursed position. They brought in some good players: Dre Greenlaw, Brooks Ellis, Martrell Spate, Dijon Harris, Bumper Pool, but there's just not enough guys. That's spread over a long period. It's spread over like 7 years. That's not enough linebackers that have been good for Arkansas. It's just not. And where would they be right now? Think about this. So they're okay at the position right now because they've got Hayden Henry, Grant Morgan, Devon McClure. Hayden Henry was a blue shirt. Grant Morgan was a walk-on. Devon McClure was a walk-on coming from baseball who came to Arkansas as a wide receiver. That's your, those guys have been, pretty good for Arkansas. I think Hayden Henry's played really well this year. But where would you be right now if you didn't have those walk-ons step up for you? You'd have Bumper Pool. You'd have Dijon Harris. I mean, you'd be in trouble. Adam Green says, sometimes I think Arkansas fans have unrealistic expectations so young. I mean, it's hard for me to say that anybody has unrealistic expectations when they just want them to beat Kentucky and win home games against San Jose State. I mean, I think you see that too, Adam Green. But I do think that expectations have been hammered down pretty low. Just you've been shoved down for 7.5 years. Your expectation level is just terrible right now. I don't think fans are asking for too much. Just asking for a team that they can be proud of. And it's been a long time. I mean, they've had, even if you go back to Brett Bielema's best year in 2015 when they won 8 games, they lost to Toledo that year. They lost to Toledo. That's the best season Arkansas has had 7.5 years. Going on 8 years. It'll be 8 years because they're not going to win 8 games this year. Sean Hartsfield says Arkansas fans are trash. Man, you guys are hard on them. It's not fair to say to everybody. I mean, there's some fans that are completely unrealistic and ridiculous. And by the way, if you're the fan who is tweeting at players and saying stuff like you don't need players holding you hostage or recruits holding you hostage, and you need to get a life. But most Arkansas fans aren't like that. I mean, you see a vocal minority on that. But Arkansas fans aren't asking for too much, man. They're not. Chase Hogan-Jones says, dang, I missed most of the show. Going to catch it replay on Spotify. You can catch it on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts. You can rewatch it on Facebook Live, and it'll be up on YouTube, of course. TJ Hammonds has added considerable size from just the first look. I actually think he's trimmed down, Chase. He's trimmed down a lot. He dropped his body fat down to like 5% or something one time when he was suspended from the team, or whatever you want to call it, whatever the situation. Not suspended, but when he was not with the team in the offseason. But he's trimmed up a little bit, actually. Rakeem runs for 150-plus to take the dub, 42-28. They give up a lot of rushing yards, so it's possible that he could have his best game. Kyle Cord-Smyer says 27-20, Arkansas, 20 of the Hogs' points in the first half before Stoops adjusts. What Arkansas needs to do, speaking of adjusting, like when they bring that Wildcat in with Bowden, they need to just shut that down right off the bat. Just shut it down. Shut it down. I mean, whatever it takes. If the kid wants to throw a pass, whatever, but let him know right off the bat you are not running the ball. Will Matayo solely play without the right-hand cast? Unless he gets it off today or tomorrow or something, then he's going to have it on. He's had it the past 2 days in practice when I've been there. I do think that's a huge disadvantage for him. He's done some good things, but I think he can be literally twice as good if he had his hand. That just shows you, some of the situations they're in. Their true freshman right end is their best option at right end. D. Crosby says Starkville continues to turn the ball over at the rate he does. Do you think Hicks could be right in there? I think they would go to Hicks. I mean, if he comes in and there's a bunch of interceptions that are his fault, then absolutely. Then you can make a change there. And I think Hicks played his best game that he has all season against Texas A&M. All right, let's see what else we got. We've gone 55 minutes here, so we're a little long. A win this weekend changed the complexion of this season, says Daniel Jill Waters. Tracy McKnight says, thoughts on Urban Meyer saying cool things about Arkansas's program. Well, he was in Arkansas. He's not going to dog them too much. But, I mean, there's no question, first of all, I hear people say stuff like Arkansas should move to the Big 12, which would – I cannot think of a more tail between your legs, cowardly look that Arkansas could present. Well, we can't compete. Let's go to the Big 12 where we could win. I mean, that's sorry looking. I'm sorry. That is pathetic looking. I just think that's – because Arkansas has shown that they can win. I mean, before these last 7.5 years, you go back and you look at 2007, they won 10 games. 2008, they won 8 games and beat the number 1 team in the country, won the national championship. 2010, they won 10 games. 2011, they won 11 games. That's a pretty good stretch. And everything just blew up. You had the Houston Nutt thing just ended so ugly. You hired Bobby Petrino, who ended up just putting the program in a ditch. John L. Smith was not the answer. There's a lot of things that Jeff Long that I can blame him for the reason why this situation is the way it is. There's plenty of room, as I love to say, under this bus for a lot of people to get under. And so we can point to Chad Morris, and yeah, sure, some of it's on him. Some of it's on the current coaching staff, and some of it's on the players. But the large majority of it, it's like there's a huge wave behind them that they have to figure out how to turn. Speaking of linebacker, will we ever see Zach Zymos? So Zymos is definitely going to redshirt this year. We may see him in some action, so he gets under 4 games, but he's kind of skinny right now. He's very athletic, but he's skinny. He's long. He just needs to add more weight. I just want Arkansas to be in the conversation, please. That would be nice. Just not glossed over. Chris Arch says, yeah, I agree. Fans need to leave these recruits alone and stop messaging them. Absolutely. Gregory Curl says, my overall experience is that most Razorback fans are awesome and love their team. There's no question about that, Coach Curl. Most Arkansas fans are fantastic fans. But I understand the frustration, and when you combine frustration with that guy in the coffee shop who used to just sit at the coffee shop and just kind of bitch about everything, now he has this huge platform to get irrational. And with Twitter and 140 characters, or I guess they doubled it 280 now, but with that, you used to write an email and you get just mad just writing this email, and then you'd be like, you'd feel better after you delete it. And now I think too many people hit send on some of that stuff. Messaging these kids, talking trash, they're kids. Yeah, I would hope that they're snot-nosed kids that are doing that. Donnie Butt says, if we win, do you think we turn the corner? I definitely think that there is an opportunity for a momentum shift. They have not turned the corner, but it's right there. It's right there for them. You can start rounding it a little bit right here. Maybe with the Texas A&M game, you start gearing up to round the corner a little bit. Again, if they play like they did against Texas A&M, have Starkel healthy, plays within the system, didn't try to force stuff, then I think Arkansas can win the game. One more time. Sign up right now at HawgSports.com if you haven't done so already. If you like this podcast, if you like what we do at the Hog Hustle, what I do on Drive Time Sports, what Danny does on Out of Bounds, if you like that stuff, some of the free content we come out, you fancy yourself as more than just a casual fan, then give us a shot right now at HawgSports.com. Or, as I said, if they win this Kentucky game, I'm going to do a 50% off an annual subscription. So you can sign up for a monthly subscription right now at just $1, okay, just $1 right now for your first month. Or you can wait till after this game, and if they win, I'm going to take 50% off an annual subscription. So get on there and sign up for that, and we'll put a promo out as soon as that game is over if that happens. So plenty of ways to watch and listen. Facebook Live, YouTube. Throw us a thumbs up right now if you haven't done so already. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so, and hit the notifications bell. And be sure to share the content with somebody else if you think they like it. Apple Podcasts, throw us a 5-star review if you haven't done so already. We want people to see when they type Arkansas Razorbacks into Apple Podcasts, we want them to see HawgSports Live. Also available on Spotify and Stitcher. Okay, I want to thank everybody for joining us. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your interaction. The show would not be possible without you guys. Thanks for Pete Roulier joining us, and of course Keith Grayson coming back from his suspension firing and his unique takes as well. This has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, and we'll catch you next time.